Yesterday game was horrendous, bro. I mean, it was bad. I mean, this one might be one for the ages, bro. I can't even lie. The referees just exposed their hand so bad, bro. I mean, they just didn't care no more. They didn't care. The world was watching how bad the cause was. They didn't care at all. They was going to get their issue off against the Fever no matter what. And I'm here to tell you, that's exactly what went down, bro. I mean, they got their issue off in a major way, bro. I mean, there was countless of times I could literally look at the screen and know that was a...
What if I told you the most talked about figure in the WNBA right now isn't even a player, it's a ref? That's right. We've just uncovered footage that's so outrageous, it makes reality TV look calm. Caitlin Clark didn't just take a hard foul, she was blatantly wronged, and it's all caught on camera. The evidence? A total mess. Let's dive into what really happened.
Well, lads, today the referees gave the report on the situation, and it's even worse. It's even worse than I imagined, and it was pretty grim. Like, it was a pretty grim overall, it was a pretty grim overall.
Watching the WNBA and seeing how things are run, seeing how things are done, and after you've seen what it looks like to get it right, and you come in and see something looking really wrong, you're going to call it out. It is what it is. You're going to be critical of players. If they do something shady or classless, you're going to call that out.
And there goes the whistle again. Not for a foul or a travel, but apparently just because Caitlin Clark exists. Let's be real, this doesn't feel like basketball anymore. It's starting to look like a badly written drama where the refs are playing the role of the villains. With missed calls, invisible fouls, and completely ignored hits to the face, WNBA officiating has gone from calling the game to causing chaos.
With you guys, an article that I found that honestly gives us so much insight into the WNBA referees, how they are hired, how much they make, and there's one section that really stood out to me, and they break down essentially why they are making the calls that they make, and they also talk about the influx of new fans flooding to the WNBA. They talk about Caitlin Clark a little bit. This article to me was really telling. It actually came out in January, but it was published by SB Nation, and it's entitled How WNBA Referees Are Scouted, Trained, and Held Accountable.
Fans aren't confused, they're worn out. This isn't tension or drama anymore, it feels like slow-motion sabotage. Bad officiating isn't just affecting the outcome of games, it's sucking the life out of a league that's supposed to be on the rise. People are tuning in for real competition, not a ref-led circus that it's like watching a cooking show where the judges pull the plug on the oven mid-bake, then blame the chef for the disaster. And Caitlin Clark? She's that chef, staying composed while everything she built melts into a mess on the floor.
You would think, with what they say coming into the season, Kathy was made it her business to let them know that, referees is going to be getting assessed for this next season and make sure they're making the right, proper calls. Man, at this point, we need NBA refs all the time, bro. I don't want these YMCA, junior league, high school ass referees, bro. We need real life refs because as of right now, they're costing the Indiana Fever major games that they...
Let's be real, Caitlin Clark looks drained. And not the usual, I played the whole game and dropped 30, kind of tired. This is deeper. The kind of exhaustion that hits when you realize even if you scored 60, someone would still call a charge because you breathed too heavy. That she's carrying a team, helping drive the league's growth, and energizing fans across the country, and yet, the officials seem more focused on holding her back than calling a fair game. Every possession feels like an uphill battle, and the people who should be protecting the integrity of the game are tying her hands instead.
Remember how last year started? You remember the lopsided officiating that we got last year? The All-Star break comes around, the Olympic break rolls around, and then what did we hear from Lynn Dunn? Lynn Dunn goes on the Dan Dockage show, and she calls out the officiating. She calls out the referee. She calls out the WNBA. The lopsidedness that is being shown not in favor of the Indiana Fever. The clear biases when it comes to foul calls. The clear biases when it comes to not calling foul calls. Last year, it took us halfway.
Of course she's frustrated. Who wouldn't be? Imagine being elite at what you do, showing up every game and performing at the highest level, only to realize your toughest opponent isn't the other team, it's the referees. They ignore obvious fouls but call her for the smallest moves, like there's some hidden rule against rising stars shining too bright. That what's happening to Caitlin Clark isn't just unfair, it's absurd. It's like she's stuck in a world where logic and consistency no longer apply, and Coach Stephanie White. She didn't just lose her temper, she completely snapped. Her sideline reactions were more than frustration, they were a public display of just how bad the officiating has become. Yelling, pacing, visibly fired up, it was less coaching and more a live protest of how broken the system feels. The refs weren't even trying to hide it anymore. They were making calls like they were inventing the rules on the fly. And honestly, that's the real issue here. Caitlin's not just being challenged, she's being targeted. And the game is suffering because of it.
A bit holistically, I think Caitlin Clark is a really hard player to officiate, much like Diana Taurasi was throughout the course of her career, for a couple of reasons. Caitlin Clark regularly gets picked up in the full court. She also gets blitzed more over the course of her career than any player in WNBA history, or in that period of time. And she also creates some contact herself on the offensive end of the floor. She is very difficult to officiate because of all of the contact that's happening around her all of the time. That being said, I was in contact with a number of WNBA coaches yesterday about this topic of the officiating in the WNBA, and all of them said it needs...
There's really no other way to put it. Caitlin Clark is being treated like she broke some unspoken rule of basketball, just for making it exciting again. The WNBA asked for attention, and now that it's here, the referees seem overwhelmed. They're not handling the pressure, not from the fans, the cameras, or the questions being asked after every game. Every missed call turns into a viral clip. Social media is full of slow-motion replays showing every questionable whistle and every missed foul. And somehow, it keeps getting worse. Caitlin makes a clean play. Whistle. Starts a fast break. Whistle. Breathes near an opponent. Technical foul. Meanwhile, the other team is getting away with full contact plays and barely a glance from the officials. That it's like the refs think they're making up the rules as they go, and Caitlin's always the one being punished, no matter what she does. This isn't just about bad officiating anymore. It's about the mental toll. She's a rookie playing with incredible maturity, but the constant pressure, unfair treatment, and lack of support are turning every game into a fight she shouldn't have to face alone.
Sharing that the officiating in the WNBA became as hot button of an issue as any. Heated debates surrounding the league's physicality dominated the headlines, particularly when Indiana Fever star rookie Caitlin Clark was subject to several intentional fouls. Now, they also brought up Game 5 of the WNBA Finals. We actually made a whole video about that as well, because there were some suspect calls at the end of that game, and a lot of people felt like the WNBA Finals were actually...
Every time Caitlin Clark gets back up, it feels like someone's ready to knock her down again, sometimes literally. And on the sidelines, Coach Stephanie White is becoming more animated than the game itself. She's basically turned into the unofficial voice of reason, if reason came with shouting, pacing, and near clipboard flinging frustration. You can almost hear her thinking, "Are you kidding me?" on repeat. That she's protesting so hard, it's surprising she hasn't been handed a mic in her own post-game venting segment. And honestly, who could blame her? Watching your top player get hit over and over without a single whistle would push any coach to the edge, but instead of highlighting Caitlin's impact, we're stuck analyzing slow-mo clips of her being shoved, while the refs stand still like background props. It's starting to feel unreal, like we're in some upside-down world where real talent gets penalized and mediocrity gets applause.
It took us 4 games for Stephanie White to say, "I've had enough." It's taken 4 games for Stephanie White to say, "You know what? I've had absolute enough. Game 1, okay. Game 2, okay. Game 3, all right." But today was the last straw when it came for Stephanie White. The New York Liberty get to the free throw line 32 times. The Indiana Fever this season have a discrepancy -31 when it comes to free throws. That doesn't seem right.
That's exactly how it feels. Fans aren't just noticing, they're reacting. The boos are louder, the crowd's more fired up, and social media is packed with clips and commentary exposing every missed call. Nobody's buying the "it's just part of the game" line anymore. If anything, it's starting to feel like the game is being run by people guessing their way through the rulebook on no sleep, and yes, it should sound harsh, because it is. This isn't just about Caitlin Clark. It's about what happens when true star power enters a system completely unprepared for it. The referees are clinging to control, making calls like their decisions aren't being replayed and dissected by millions in HD. Caitlin plays too well. The response: make it harder for her. That's the message it sends. And if nothing changes, this won't end with cheers. It'll end with fans checking out, wondering how it all went so wrong, and just when you think officiating couldn't get worse, it does. These refs aren't just off their game, they're rewriting the game in real time, and not in a good way. At this point, you have to wonder if their rulebook came from a children's coloring book.
Why was JC Sheldon's foul upgrade to Flagrant 1? In the judgment of the officials, the foul by Sheldon was unnecessary. The contact to Clark's face. Furthermore, there was a wind-up and impact, and the contact to face carries potential for injury. How did you come to the conclusion that that is a flagrant one? How did you come up to the conclusion that it was unnecessary? There was a wind-up, and it was to the face. The three of them that is a flagrant 2. By definition, you've described
At times, it honestly felt like the refs were making foul calls from a jar labeled "random nonsense," while completely ignoring the obvious hits Caitlin Clark and her teammates were taking. Clear contact. No whistle. Elbows and body checks. Just playing hard. A full-on wrestling move in the paint. Apparently, great defense. It's not quite a conspiracy, yet. But if we see a few more games like this, people are going to start asking serious questions. How do you miss this much contact when your job is literally to watch the game? It's like the officials made an unspoken agreement to never call a foul in Caitlin's favor, no matter how obvious it is. Meanwhile, she's getting knocked around on national TV like it's part of a stunt show, and the refs act like they didn't see a thing. At this point, even crash test dummies are getting more concerned. You almost start picturing some behind-the-scenes meeting at WNBA headquarters, dim lights, tired faces, and a slideshow titled, "How to Slow Down Caitlin Clark, Without Getting Caught." And the refs? Just following instructions, game after game. It's starting to look like the league wants this team to struggle. Every time Caitlin finds her rhythm, here come the whistles, like clockwork, cutting off momentum with the same tired energy. "Oh, that looked like it might work. Better shut it down."
You know, NBA refs are the worst. They really are the worst.
We gotta unpaint these narratives. They all have heart. All the mannerisms in basketball are the same. This is gonna be the same. Doesn't matter your color, your race, or your religion. That means I shot in your face. This means I'm clapping, I'm excited. How do you make basketball mannerisms about race? Make it make sense. Sometimes we might even push the ref. I'm in the heat of the moment. I'm not a bad person.
Wait, hold up, wait. You be pushing refs, Angel?
Well, I ain't never pushed them, but I've gotten in their face. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause, you know.
Even when you watch the MNBA, I would pray for, and Scott Foster sucks, but I would pray for a Scott Foster in the WNBA. Some of these women's refs, I don't know if you feel this way, Angel, but they have.
Meanwhile, players on other teams are practically breakdancing on defense and getting rewarded with free throws. It's become a circus, and the only ones not in on the joke are the athletes actually trying to play real basketball. And through all this chaos, guess who's missing? The commissioner. The one person with the power to step in and bring order has gone completely silent. You'd get more response shaking a magic 8-ball than trying to hear from her office. Players are getting hit, fans are outraged, commentators are calling it out, and still, not a word from the top, trying to find a public statement from her. Good luck. You'd have better odds spotting Bigfoot refereeing a game. The only thing predictable about her leadership is how rarely she shows up when it matters. Days pass, controversies grow, bad calls dominate the headlines, and she remains MIA, like she's running the league from a cabin in the woods with no internet. Penalties delayed. Fines issued like she's on vacation. She handles league problems with the urgency of someone hitting snooze on a smoke alarm. At this point, fans and players deserve better, someone who's actually present and willing to act when the game needs it most.
Before, and I will say it again, the WNBA as an organization is insufferable, and you would be hard-pressed to find another organization that is as committed to self-imploding as the WNBA.
There is no place in basketball for somebody to be poked in the eye, and then they're saying Caitlin Clark is flopping. In what world is she flopping? Oh, she flailed and she fell over. For crying out loud, that girl, JC Sheldon, should have been kicked out of the game. She should have received a flagrant 2. There's no reason why you need to poke somebody. Listen, I get it. She's playing her hard. She's guarding her. It's basketball. Aside from the viewership and the recordship and the media, it's just a basketball game. I totally get that. There's no place in basketball for like that. These WNBA refs need to...
At this point, you'd almost expect the commissioner to show up and ask, wait, which team is Caitlin on again? That's how disconnected she seems from everything happening in her own league, and let's talk about her leadership, if you can even call it that. There's no urgency, no presence, no accountability. When coaches are losing it over missed calls, when fans are demanding answers, and when viral clips show Caitlin getting fouled while refs look the other way, what do we hear from her? Nothing, total silence. You'd hear more from a turned-off mic than from the league's top executive. It's gotten to the point where people don't expect her to lead, they just hope she knows the season's still going, maybe she's waiting on a carrier pigeon to deliver game results. Maybe she's too busy writing a 5-year plan that starts with, what is basketball? Or maybe, and this is the real problem, she's been told not to rock the boat, even if that boat is already sinking, but let's call it like it is, she needs to go. Yesterday. Her job is to grow the league, protect its players, and keep the game fair. Right now, she's doing none of that. While Caitlin Clark, the biggest name in women's basketball, gets tossed around on the court, the commissioner is missing in action. And silence, in a moment like this, says everything.
Lost control of the game.
I said you lost control of the game, and here's what happened is those are refs around allowed that type of play to happen. That just opens up the rest of the game to say, do you see what I got away with? I'm going to be able to get away with other things too. And that's exactly what I said. That's a dangerous game. That is a unsafe game for players to be a part of because it allows for the other team to make some really nasty, maybe.
That's the leadership equivalent of putting Beyonce on hold, while the entire fan base is melting down. The frustration is real. Every game feels like a new episode in the bad officiating saga, and the commissioner's seat stays colder than a Minnesota winter. Coaches are forced to manage chaos, players are grinding through blatant bias, and fans are shouting at their TVs, all while the person responsible for stepping up is nowhere to be found. It's like her job description starts and ends with, stay quiet. She's become the human version of the shrug emoji, and here's the real problem. That silence speaks volumes. Why not addressing the obvious favoritism and missed calls? The league is sending a dangerous message, that Caitlin Clark, and by extension her team, are fair game. Get shoved. Deal with it. Get fouled hard. Play through it. Get disrespected. Just smile and keep selling tickets, because the league doesn't want to protect her. They want to profit from her. Her popularity. Useful. Her success. Marketable. Her well-being and fair treatment. Apparently not a priority. They're using her name, her reach, her impact, but standing up for her. That's where the support stops.
Attention this year, there's also been increased scrutiny about the quality of refereeing. Curious if there has been any conversation about whether it's referee pay, referee training, anything to ensure that is as good as it can be.
Obviously, not every, they're humans, looking at technology, basketball is a little more complex than tennis, for instance, around technology of officiating. So we're looking at a variety of different dimensions. I know it's a passionate issue. Every fan group, I love when I go into market and every fan group I meet with, they usually wait and ask it as the last question of the night, but they do ask about officiating, which
has earned better. This isn't the early days of sports media anymore. Every moment is clipped, slowed down, and shared in seconds. Fans aren't just watching, they're documenting. They're tracking trends, comparing calls, and holding the league accountable in real time, and yet, the WNBA acts like it can ignore all of it, as if people won't notice. But they do. They see the missed fouls, the uneven treatment, and the silence from leadership. It's not just disappointing, it's insulting that if the league truly wants to grow, it can't be run like a group chat that forgets to respond for days. It needs leadership that shows up, speaks up, and actually protects the athletes it claims to support. Caitlin Clark brought in a wave of fans, energy, and possibility, and the league's response has been delay, denial, and deflection. That's not just unfair. That's unsustainable.